Okay, thank you. So most of you I know from the training. So I'm Roberta Hatcher. I'm the training coordinator here at Literacy Pittsburgh. And I should just, you have my bio in the information, but just a little bit about myself. Before I joined the staff, I tutored for 2 years, and I was working with an adult who had no prior literacy in her first language. And I'm still tutoring a student like that currently. And I've also worked with very beginning language learners in other contexts. So I bring a lot of that background to this discussion. So what I'm going to talk about today is this new standout book, Literacy Foundations, that is designed to teach pre-literate language learners. So I'm first going to address that question of who is this textbook for? I'm going to walk you through an overview of the textbook, all the various components, then the lesson plans and materials that we've created to support it. And then most important, I'm going to offer some suggestions about how to teach this material. And hopefully we'll have time at the end for some questions and discussion. I will ask you, if you do have a question, if you put it in the chat while you're thinking of it, that way you won't forget it, and we can save all the questions till the end. So as you know, when students come to us, the first thing we do is give them an assessment test to determine their level of English. And this test is a test of their speaking and listening skill. It's called the Best Plus test. It is picture-based. And so that is how we determine whether they are a beginning, intermediate, or advanced language learner based on their speaking skills. So this textbook is designed for what we categorize as beginning literacy students. And that means students with little or no spoken English. So very, very little. And they also need foundational literacy skills. So generally that means that they don't have literacy skills in their own language, and they are learning just basic making connection between letter and sound, how to make letters. We might also assign this book to a low beginning student. So these are some students who have some basic English, but they may have had interrupted education or no formal education. And if that's the case, then we might give them a very brief literacy screening just to see if they have any writing skills. And if not, then we would use this textbook as support. But as I mentioned, the textbook is new. It was just published this year. And most of the students working at this level, we have encouraged to enroll in our foundations level classes. That there's a lot of benefit to learn at the basic level in a community setting. Working with a group just allows a lot more possibility for communication practice. However, that's not possible for all students, and we do now have some community-based classes taught by volunteers, and we also have a few volunteers working one-on-one with students at this level. So these are the levels that we assign based on the students' Best Plus results. And just to show you, okay, a little breakdown. So this was our 22-23 program year. We only had about 8% of our students at this beginning literacy level. And then about a third, roughly, were beginning level students, intermediate, and then a slightly smaller group at the advanced level. This is our current program year. And so we now have 28% of our students are at what we call the foundations or beginning literacy level. So this is a group, we have a growing need. Also, still about a third roughly, beginning and intermediate. The advanced ELL, that number has dropped in part because we are encouraging students to kind of graduate. That if they have been working with a tutor and even a small group for a long time, it might have become a little bit more social than instructional, which is fine, but we encourage people then to start using some community resources. We are starting book reading groups. We have an alumni club. We encourage them to get involved in library conversation groups and such, so that we can focus our resources on the students who need it most. Okay, so to take you through this textbook, if you are teaching English language learners now, you are probably working with text from the Standout series. So this is a 7-level series. Previously, it was started with basic and then went levels 1 through 5. And there was a recognition that the basic level textbook just didn't address the needs of students at this low literacy foundational level. So they came out this year with Literacy Foundations textbook. Like the other textbooks, it's an integrated 4 skills textbook. So it includes all the skills: listening and speaking, reading and writing. There's not so much grammar woven throughout as with the higher level texts. It's more kind of implicit. It's mostly working on vocabulary and writing. Okay. However, all the textbooks follow the same organization. They all have 8 units, plus an optional pre-unit, kind of getting to know you. It covers everyday life themes. So food, health, shopping, work, community, etc. Okay, so similarly with the foundations text, okay, it follows the same type of themes, although it also introduces very basic giving personal information. It introduces classroom vocabulary that students might not be familiar with. And then we have food, shopping, community, health, work, lifelong learning. Okay, so each unit contains 5 lessons, and this lays out at the beginning of the book the entire scope and sequence, so what each lesson covers. There is also a 6th review lesson, and then it includes a short quiz. So we're going to walk through these just section by section, okay? So each unit begins with an introductory photo, and that introduces the theme for that unit. These are published by National Geographic, so it's visually very rich, which is not often the case with textbooks of this nature. So I do encourage you to not skip quickly over this photo, okay? Spend time looking at it, naming things. If the student can name things, that's great. You can find out what they already know, okay? But just go through and name some of these items. And as you name them, write them down so that the student can hear and see the word. Again, this is on the idea that assessment test we give them is based on photos, and so getting students to practice talking about pictures is also a good skill. So there are 5 lessons per unit, and then this is unique to the foundations level textbook, that each unit then has 4 pages per lesson, and it follows the same exact structure throughout the book. Okay, the first page introduces the students to 1 or 2 sounds and letters. It includes images and audio of some very high frequency words. Page 2 gives them writing practice with the new letters. Page 3 gives speaking practice. So it includes very short dialogues. And it also might introduce 2 or 3 very common sight words. So words that they are not going to learn to sound out, but they just learn to memorize on sight. And then page 4 has some practice with what we call decoding. So decoding is just learning to identify words on the page. So if they have been practicing the letter B, so in decoding then, it might have them recognize that words like banana and bean begin with that letter. Okay, and it also might introduce a short paragraph or some more pictures with realia for some more reading practice. Okay, so this is what it actually looks like. So I'm starting here with, this is unit 3 in the book, okay? And so you will see that it starts out, it's introducing a letter, okay? And it has them, you name the letter, then you pronounce the letter, and you have them pronounce these words, okay? So it's introducing them to some high frequency words, and it's also then building what we call phonemic awareness, being able to identify individual sounds. So the book comes with audio, and I'll show you later how to access this, but you can, do some of this yourself, but it's also good to use the audio just to expose them to a range of different voices. Okay, so this is the second page where it actually has them practice writing the letter, and it starts out with tracing and then moves on to having the student actually write the letter themselves. And then they're filling in, again, small letter, capital letter. And then, in addition to literacy skills, they still need some basic English language learning. So this will introduce speaking practice, and it can be just a very short dialogue from everyday life. Bananas, how much? $1. Okay. And then it will include a couple sight words where, okay, you would make flashcards of these and you start building a pack of words that students will memorize and learn to recognize on sight. And then page 4, okay, actually has them working on identifying letters and phrases. So, figuring out, okay, which ones, where locate the B, okay, capital B, small b. And you want to do this both visually, okay, recognizing on the page, and orally, where do you hear the letter B? Okay, and then they do some personalized writing practice. So that is basically the same structure throughout the whole book for every unit. Okay, it starts out with letters and sounds, moves on to writing those letters, some speaking practice, and finally some decoding reading practice. So after that lesson within the unit, it just moves on to the next lesson. 5 lessons per unit. New letter, new sound. At the end of each unit, there's a unit review. It's called Put It Together, and it's 4 pages for each unit, and it just goes through and provides more practice. This lets you know, is there anything else that you need to go back over, things that they particularly need to practice more. And again, they are not going to master all of this in one lesson, okay? There will be repeated exposure, okay? But you just want to make sure that they at least have a basic grasp. And this is the quiz. very simple. Actually, the first 2 units, it's only 1 page long. And so this just gives you a sense of how your student is doing. If they get more than 80% correct on the quiz, you can move on. If they get below that, then you might want to go back and reteach some of the material. Okay, so the book basically covers 3 main skills. So we've seen that it covers foundational literacy skills, some beginning English language skills, so dialogue, speaking, listening. It also works on classroom skills. Okay, so some of our students might not have had much formal education. And so you'll want to, take them through the book, show them how to navigate. And so it starts out with some very simple icons to help them know what they are being asked to do. And these are explicitly taught, okay? And they're quizzed on them, okay? So you have listen, repeat, write, practice with a partner, okay? Underline, circle, and check, okay? So anytime you are asking them to do an activity, say, okay, listen, okay, repeat, write, and point to it as you're saying it so that they get used to seeing these words and associating them with the icon. Okay, they also might not be familiar with some just regular classroom activities like doing a matching exercise. Okay, so what exactly are they being asked to do? So you'll want to model that for them. Show them exactly what it is. So these are gradually dropped out, these icons, as the book progresses. So in Unit 1, each activity, you'll see an icon there, listen, repeat. Later, they just have the words listen and repeat. Okay, so this is something, a skill that they are building over time. So there are other things in the book. It contains some appendices. So you have pages for writing practice, and okay, you'll notice that these pages contain what we call literacy lines. So this dotted line in the middle helps a student know how to form a letter. Okay, so for instance, a small letter will just go halfway up the line, a capital letter goes all the way up. And so it also provides a copy of the entire alphabet to provide them with a model for writing practice. And it also lists in the back of the book all the sight words that they will be learning throughout the text. So these are words that are just very high frequency words. You'll notice that the first unit, okay, there are 9 words. By the time you get to the last unit, there are, I think, 14 words. So the number increases over time. And again, you'll have a set of index cards. You make flashcards of these. The students can put anything on the back that helps them, phonetic spelling from their own language, or a drawing, or a picture, anything that will help them identify the word. There's also a map. Reading a map is a skill, actually, that is rapidly disappearing now that we all use our phones. But it might be good at least to let them be able to identify where Pennsylvania is, so that they know. Okay. And also at the back of the book, there are note pages. These would be more for you than for the student. However, we ask you not to write in your book. The student will be able to write in their book. We ask you to use sticky notes instead so that we can reuse your textbooks. So tutors who are assigned this book will also be sent a toolkit. And that will include a whiteboard with a Sharpie pen, okay? And you'll notice the whiteboard includes literacy lines. So you might have to, again, explicitly show them that this red line is the bottom, okay? And they are then going up to the middle of the line or all the way up. You will also get a set of index cards. You can use these for flashcards, for practice. And then we have taken some of the writing practice pages and made photocopied packets so that if you need extra writing practice outside of the pages in the book, you'll have extra resources. And so the lesson plans are on the same lesson plan site where all the other lesson plans live. It's lptutor.com. The password is case sensitive. And when you get there, you can either locate the book by the title up on top or scroll down on the right and click on the standout book cover. Okay, and this takes you to all the levels. And we have now added the Literacy Foundations level book. And when you click on that, this will take you to the lesson plans. We've also made a video. This is Katie Critchfield, our tutoring specialist and academic manager. And I strongly recommend that if you are using this textbook with a student, that you watch this video first. It offers a little more guidance on using the book. And then these are all the lesson plans. For some reason, when they upload, they come up in reverse order. So you'll start with the introduction, that's the photograph, and then lesson 1 through lesson 6. You can, if you don't have access to a printer, I know I'm pretty old school. I find that I like to have a hard copy. You can ask your program coordinator, and we can print out the lesson plans for a unit and mail them to you. Or if you're working in a Carnegie library meeting with your student, I know that they offer up to 10 pages of free printing a day. So you can use your library. So this is a lesson plan. It just takes you through the basic lesson information, the goals for the lesson, vocabulary, that sight word vocabulary that they'll be asked, language structures, and then here you have a link to the audio files for that lesson. And then it just walks you through. There might be some teaching tips that just give you a little extra guidance on, for instance, how to hold a pencil if your student needs to be taught that. And then it just walks you through suggested prompts and all the activities of the lesson. As with all our other lessons, the basic model is I do, we do, you do. So you start out modeling for them, presenting the material, practice with your student, and then gradually they do more independent work. Okay, so a few tips for using these resources, tips of a technical nature. Okay, so you will have a hard copy of the textbook. Your student will have a hard copy of the book. If you are teaching online, we also have a digital copy of the student book available. You will be sent, you will be given by your coordinator a link along with the password to access that book. But once you get there, you want to download this to your own computer. Okay, so you click on download, it happens fairly quickly, but what that will allow you to do, if you have a copy on your own computer, it gives you more possibilities for manipulating the document. For instance, how to display 2 pages at once, as if you were looking at an open textbook. Okay, you can't do that from the online copy. You need to have a downloaded copy to your computer. And in order to do that, once you've downloaded it, you go up to Menu. It will give you this drop-down box. You go to View. It will give you this box. You go to Page Display. and you click on two-page view. Okay, and that will be just like having an open textbook in front of you. Okay. Similarly, once you have those 2 pages, if you have the downloaded copy, you can go down to the right of your screen and use these icons to either zoom in or zoom out to focus more closely on a particular letter or word. Okay. We also have a teacher's guide, a lesson plan. Now, this is optional. Most of the information in the teacher's guide we have taken and put into those lesson plans. But if you would like to use the teacher's guide and have a look at it, again, you want to download your own copy so that you can get a 2-page view and move through it more readily. Okay. When you click on that link on the lesson plan for audio files, this is what you will get. You'll get all the audio exercises for a particular lesson. And it just so happens that the way they download, you can't see by the title which is which. So again, you want to download this to your own computer. And if you do that, then they will appear like this on your computer. And so you'll be able to see, this is the file for exercise A. Now we're working on exercise F, and just click on that specific file. So you'll also notice with the lesson plans, there are some audio and additional resources. I'll just walk you quickly through those. So click on that and you'll get audio and supplemental resources. What you're mostly going to use is lesson resources. And in particular, it has some alphabet cards. You can print these out, cut them up, and you'll have actual cards to manipulate with your student. You can do this with your index cards also, but these are kind of handy. These are cards for all those target sight words. So you can print those out and cut them up and have them. These are some other games they explain in the lesson plans if you want to do a bingo, something like that. Okay, so it says audio and supplemental. The audio resources, these are not links to the actual audio. These are links to the scripts. Okay, they all have transcripts. There are 2 videos in the textbook. There are transcripts to that also. So if you would like to see what is in those actual dialogues, you can print out the script. Okay, so that's all well and fine. Okay, there you have the book and the lesson plans and the resources. Okay, but the question is, how do you actually go about teaching these things? Okay, so a few suggestions that might help. So in the training, we talk about establishing a tutoring routine. So having a routine is really key for students at this level. It helps them know what to expect, and it makes sure that you build in a lot of review. Okay, so we think of this, the routine as kind of like a hamburger. In this case, think of it as a hamburger with a really, really big top bun, in that you want to be devoting a lot, the bulk of your class, okay, to review. Okay, then the lesson plan, okay, gives you the new material, even if it includes a little bit of warm up and review at the beginning of that lesson plan. That lesson plan is really this, the meat. Okay, so you'll be doing all this before you even start your lesson plan. And then you want to leave time to ask your student, tell me one thing you learned today. Okay, confirm your next meeting. So again, I can't stress this enough. Okay, Everyone listen. Repetition is your friend. Okay. Repeat after me. Okay. Repetition is your friend. Repetition is your friend. Repetition is your what? Friend. Repetition is your friend. So you will start building routines. Each one of those little dialogues, okay, you will repeat them at the beginning of your class. You will add to them as they learn more small dialogues, and you will start out every class pretty much in the same way, okay? How are you today? I am happy. That's a word they learn early on in this book, okay? Me too. I am happy too. Okay? What day is today? Today is Tuesday. Okay? Where do you live? Okay? Where are you from? Okay? After they have learned where you are from, who is from Minnesota? Okay? They should be able to say, Teacher Roberta is from Minnesota. That's not in the book. They will learn it. Okay? Then or you will teach them where you're from. Okay? Then as we have now come to Unit 3, one of the dialogues is, do you buy? Do you buy bananas? Okay? Yes, I buy bananas. You just go through these routines at the beginning of every class, repetition, review. Okay. If you remember from the training when we did that little dialogue in Czech, okay, Promitie, kolek je hodin. Okay. Think how many times you would need to hear that in order to remember it. Okay, just to put yourself in your student's shoes. You can even, kind of mix this up, make it a little goofy just to, add some fun. So one of the B words in this unit is broccoli. So do you like broccoli? I like broccoli. Okay. Do you like broccoli for breakfast? Okay. No. Okay. Breakfast is another word, another B word. So you can just, try and add some humor, try and make it fun as you're going through the routines. Okay, so what do you do if your student is struggling? Okay, so you can model for them. Okay, do you buy bananas? Yes. Okay, I buy bananas. Do you buy bananas? I buy bananas. Okay, so if they're kind of stuck, then you just model the answer. I buy bananas. Okay, I'm from Minnesota. Where are you from? Okay, and you do that as many times as needed. Okay, I live in Pittsburgh. Where do you live? Okay. Another thing you can do if they're stuck is what we call forced choice and leaning on the correct answer. So if you ask, what day is today? And they're stuck, you can provide some choices. Is today Monday or Tuesday? Okay. Then hopefully they fill in Tuesday. Okay. And if not, then you fill in and have them repeat. Okay. If you have a student who tends towards single word answers, okay, and what you want to do is build towards a full sentence, okay? So is today Monday or Tuesday? They say Tuesday. Okay. Today is Tuesday. Okay. Today is Tuesday. And get them to do a full sentence. After a while, they will come to recognize this gesture, okay, and know that you want a full sentence. Okay. if you are tutoring one-on-one, okay, it can be a little repetitive back and forth. Okay, anytime there is a dialogue and you're working one-on-one, you want to make sure that you change roles so that they get to practice both parts of the dialogue. Because if they're working in a group setting, they would be switching off with a partner. Okay, so one thing you can do if you're tutoring one-on-one is you can add more people. Okay, so this is my friend. Okay, her name is Kate. Okay, she is from New York. Okay. What's her name? And so I have these actually printed out and put on manila folder cardboard. And if you're working in person, you can just have them as added people. Okay. So meet my family. And I just went and did, the most famous people in the world or whatever. You can do this however you like. You can use pictures of your own family if you like, but I think it's easier just to find some known people. Okay, and you can then bring these into the conversation and have them talk about these people. Yeah, my husband, he's kind of cute. Okay, so that's all speaking skills. So if you remember, the textbook introduces those little dialogues as page 3, as the third thing that you do in the textbook. But that's why you really want to use them as the opening part of your routine. You do all that speaking practice at the beginning of every class, okay? And then you can move into the lesson, which starts with literacy skills. So a couple things about, this is the, I think it's the pre-unit. And you'll see that there are teacher notes at the bottom of the page that give you some suggestions. If a student has no, classroom experience or literacy skill whatsoever, okay, these are some guides, okay, that we go from left to right. The green light is the start of the sentence. Red light is the end, okay? And so we read across and we read down. And if you see these letters divided by hyphens, that means you're spelling that word, okay? Hi, I'm Hannah, Hanah. Okay, nice to meet you. You can, if you're using you'll have the little whiteboard, okay? You can write things on it and then erase them, take them away, and see if the student can fill in. So for building, okay, literacy skills, the first thing they need to do, it's called phonemic awareness, is linking a symbol, a letter to the sound. So you want them to learn to name the letter and then the sound, not the same thing. Okay, so you start out by saying, you name the letter. Today, we will learn the letter B. Okay, and you show them B and you write B, but then you model the sound. Okay, have them listen, B. Okay, and when you're making the sound, you want to avoid a big vowel after. Instead of B, okay, just B, because later they will have to combine sounds, okay, and you don't want an extra syllable in there, okay. Then they have, this is the third unit. In the previous unit, they learned the letter P, and so you can do a contrast, okay. A lot of these have to do with whether or not you're using your voice box. So, B, the. Okay. So your mouth is doing the same thing, but you're not using your voice box. The. Okay. Then it's presented in context as the beginning sound of all these words. Okay, so you have them listen and you repeat these words. Okay, starting with that beginning sound. Okay, so the important thing here is to distinguish between naming the letter and modeling the sound. Okay, then the next step is learning to write. Okay, so you have your whiteboard. You would model how to form the letter. In the beginning units, they actually use arrows. They'll show like a down arrow next to the letter to show you the stroke. Okay, the students might think that that's part of the letter, so you can show them that's just showing the direction. Okay, so you model and then have them trace in the book. Okay, and then you can do what we call multisensory instruction. So after they've traced these letters, before they start writing it themselves, have them take their fingers, just their first two fingers, and write the word on the letter on the table with a large gesture. Okay, this is very tactile. It helps solidify it in their memory. Okay, and so you would say the letter, okay, B, and write it out several times, just making the strokes on the table. Then you have them close their eyes and do it in the air, trying to see the letter, okay? B, okay? And then have them try and write it, okay? And eventually, as they're writing it, after they practiced a few times, cover it up and see if they can form the letter themselves. Okay, if you have a student who is really learning to write for the first time, this is something that that many elementary teachers use, but that can also be effective. It's called the handwriting house. You don't need to be this elaborate. You don't need sunshine. You don't need a chimney coming out of the roof. Okay, but it just shows that you have downstairs and upstairs and a basement. Okay, attic, no letters go in the attic. Okay, capital letters go upstairs, some letters go down in the basement. Okay, so you want to, and when students first start writing, it doesn't need to be perfect, okay, but you do want them to take their time, write slowly, and at least try and stay within the lines. So another multisensory technique you can use is what we call manipulatives. So you have your index cards, and these are some of the words that are in the unit. They learn bread, pen, buy, paper, pot. Okay, this is actually including words from the previous unit, so we're contrasting the B and the P. Okay, so you ask them to match the letter to the word that it goes to. And you can do the same thing with matching the capital letter to the small letter that it goes to. Okay, if you are teaching online, there's a wonderful tool called flippity.net where you can actually create manipulatives that you can drag and drop across the page. If you want information about that, feel free to send me an email and I can send you a link along with some very simple instructions. You don't even need to create an account. You can just go to the site, put in the letters or words that you want, and it's a very useful tool. Okay, so in terms of resources, let's see. We go till 10:25. Uh-oh, okay. I'll go through this very quickly. So On the website, we do have additional relevant training. However, this is a new book, so this is still a little bit under construction. For the other levels, you'll find a number of videos from our YouTube channel that come from events like this, recorded tutor talks, recorded presentations from the tutor conference. So you will, this talk will be uploaded there. You will find that. And then as we build more resources, we'll be adding them to that. So for instance, this is the intermediate. You'll find there are a lot of videos. The foundations level still under construction, but that's where you'll find it. Another absolutely invaluable resource, Literacy Minnesota. And I say this not just because I'm from Minnesota, but because they are a national leader. They have very large immigrant populations, and they are also a statewide organization, so they have a lot of resources. If you go to their website, okay, and click on Educator Resources, you will find a series of classroom videos, including a whole series that are titled Low-Level Literacy. And you can actually see this in action. Okay, you will see a teacher teaching how to teach the letter B. You will see someone doing opening routines in a class, the same little dialogues. So I strongly recommend those just to see how it works. Okay, and for other, we have the tutor conference twice a year, and we also have Zoom tutor talks. So some of those might be relevant. You'll get notice. And if you want to meet with your program coordinator, you can anytime, but we also have these once-a-month meetings where you can meet other volunteers. These are in person, so they move around from site to site. So it might come to your area twice a year, but you are welcome to go to any one of them if you like. Okay, so I will stop sharing, and we have a couple minutes before we have to leave. Sorry for running a bit over, but does anyone have any questions or comments?
There was a question in the chat from Mary regarding she's using the Standout Basic book with her student or students, and wonders if she should also be using the foundation book because they're working on making sounds.
Okay, so like the foundations book, by the time the student gets to the end, they are considered ready to start working at the basic level. So, but the basic level is also still working on sounds. But it's more, it's a little more advanced, just in the sense that they already might be familiar with looking at the letters. Okay. If you find, have you found your student really struggling with that material?
No, actually, just what you described makes sense because she's pretty good with her letters. It's just a matter of the vocabulary and the fluency of conversation and vocabulary. So what you're saying, it makes sense. She is at the basic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all students are going to be having to practice making the sounds of English, pronunciation and decoding, figuring out what those letters on the page sound like in English. But this is really for students who are encountering that kind of for the first time.
Okay, thank you. And I found the basic book very easy to use.
Good, good. Okay. Josephine?
Oh, what was the website again? I wrote down LPBITIOR. I'm not sure I got it right.
Oh,